Rick Warren, born Richard Dwayne Warren on January 28, 1954 in San Jose, California, has spent over 4 decades shaping the lives of millions through his faith and leadership. Raised in Ukiah, a small town in California, Rick was immersed in a life of ministry from a young age. His father Jimmy, a Baptist minister and carpenter, built churches brick by brick for communities in need. His mother Dot, a librarian, instilled in him a love for books and a deep curiosity about the world. From early on, Rick was exposed to the rhythms of ministry, where service to others wasn't just a vocation, it was a way of life. His father's heartfelt prayer, "Lord, help me build one more church before I die," stayed with him, and it would eventually serve as the cornerstone of Rick's life and calling. A man of purpose, from small beginnings to visionary leadership, Rick's path to becoming a spiritual leader wasn't defined by outward success or popularity. In school, he wasn't the most athletic or well-known student, but he had something rare: purpose. While others were distracted, he dedicated his time to studying theology, leadership, and the Bible. By his senior year in high school, Rick was already mentoring classmates and leading Bible studies. In 1972, he founded the Fishers of Men Club, the first Christian group on campus, standing firm in his belief that faith wasn't about blending in, but about standing out. After high school, he attended California Baptist University and later earned his divinity degree. But it was his vision for a new kind of church that set him apart from his peers. One focused not on tradition, but on reaching the broken and the lost. The birth of Saddleback Church. A vision comes to life. In 1980, with his wife Kay by his side, Rick Warren took a leap of faith. They packed their belongings into a U-Haul and moved to Orange County, California, with no money, no building, and no congregation, just faith. Rick knocked on thousands of doors, asking people why they didn't go to church, and the answers he received became the blueprint for what would become Saddleback Church. "It's boring. It's not relevant. I don't feel welcome." These common complaints shaped Rick's vision for a new kind of church. On Easter Sunday, April 6, 1980, Rick and Kay held their first service in a rented theatre. With only 205 attendees, most of whom were new to church, the small gathering marked the beginning of a global movement. Little did Rick know, that day would be the foundation of one of the largest and most influential churches in the world. Growing pains. The challenges of building a church. Saddleback Church grew quickly, but not without its challenges. In the early years, Rick and Kay had no permanent home for their congregation. They jokingly referred to themselves as a church with wheels, setting up and tearing down their services every week in rented spaces such as school gyms and community centres. Despite the exhaustion, Rick saw these struggles as a test of faith. The church didn't have a building, but it had a vision, and that was enough. By 1993, after 13 years of moving from location to location, Saddleback built its first permanent worship center in Lake Forest, California. It was a milestone not for the building itself, but for what it represented: endurance, trust, and a clear purpose. By then, the church had grown to over 10,000 attendees each week, and the work was just beginning. The Purpose-Driven Church, a new blueprint for growth. In 1995, Rick Warren released The Purpose-Driven Church, a book that would become a defining resource for church leaders worldwide. In it, Rick argued that every church, regardless of size, should focus on 5 biblical purposes: worship, fellowship, discipleship, ministry, and mission. When churches prioritize these elements, growth follows naturally. The book became a blueprint for pastors, with over 200,000 church leaders trained in the purpose-driven model within a few years. However, it was Rick's next book that truly changed the world: The Purpose-Driven Life. Written for ordinary people rather than pastors, the book asked a simple yet profound question: what on earth am I here for? Structured as a 40-day spiritual journey, the book guided readers toward a deeper understanding of life's true purpose, the deep burden of leadership, exhaustion and burnout. By the mid-2000s, Saddleback Church had grown into one of the largest congregations in America, with over 20,000 weekly attendees, and it had expanded globally. But behind the scenes, the weight of leadership began to take its toll on Rick Warren. The man who had taught others how to find purpose was silently battling exhaustion, burnout, and the relentless demands of leading a global church. The pressure of managing a growing organization while maintaining a personal connection with his congregation became overwhelming. Despite his outward success, Rick found himself increasingly weary, physically and emotionally, and he knew that something had to change. A tragedy that changed everything, the loss of his son, Rick and Kay Warren, had already faced struggles in their marriage, including financial hardships and Kay's trauma from past abuse. However, nothing prepared them for the devastation they would face on April 5th, 2013. Their youngest son, Matthew, who had battled mental illness for most of his life, took his own life at the age of 27. Matthew's struggles with deep depression and suicidal thoughts were long-standing, despite years of treatment, prayers, and therapy. His death left Rick and Kay heartbroken and questioning everything. In a public letter to his congregation, Rick described his son as an incredibly kind, gentle, and compassionate young man, and spoke of the pain that no amount of medicine or prayer could ease. The tragic loss shocked the world, but what hurt even more were the cruel comments and blame from some who questioned the Warren family's faith. Turning grief into purpose, advocating for mental health. In the wake of Matthew's death, Rick Warren did not respond with anger or bitterness. Instead, he responded with grace, explaining to his congregation that God did heal Matthew, just not on this side of eternity. His words reflected a man who, despite profound loss, still clung to his faith. After 4 months away from the pulpit, Rick returned with a powerful sermon series called How to Get Through What You're Going Through. His message was raw, honest, and vulnerable. He spoke openly about the grief he felt and encouraged others to turn their greatest sorrow into their greatest message. Rick and Kay made it their mission to speak publicly about mental health issues, a topic often ignored in religious circles. They launched the Hope for Mental Health initiative, helping churches become safe spaces for people struggling with depression and suicidal thoughts. The fight of his life, a personal battle with illness. While Rick was helping others heal, his own body began to betray him. In 2021, he was diagnosed with a rare neurological disorder called spinalis, which caused uncontrollable muscle spasms. On top of that, doctors discovered an autoimmune disease that caused chronic inflammation and constant pain. For someone who had dedicated his life to preaching, the physical toll became too much. In June 2021, after 41 years of service, Rick announced his retirement as senior pastor of Saddleback Church. The decision shocked his congregation, but Rick reassured them that it wasn't the end, it was the beginning of the beginning. He passed the leadership to Pastor Andy Wood, who would continue to carry the mantle of Saddleback's vision forward. A legacy of service, mentoring, and global outreach. Even in retirement, Rick Warren's influence continues to shape lives. His book, The Purpose-Driven Life, remains one of the most impactful Christian books ever written. Saddleback Church, now a global network with tens of thousands of weekly attendees, continues to serve its community, both locally and globally. Rick's commitment to global missions through his Finishing the Task coalition has left a lasting impact, and his peace plan and HIV/AIDS initiatives continue to change lives. Today, when Rick speaks, his voice is not one of triumph, but of empathy. He has lived through loss, pain, and physical frailty, and his story is a reminder that faith is not the absence of suffering, it is the strength to walk through it.